everybody fighting for? Why can't people help people? That's the question.
Oh my God, it's people helping people!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another amazing episode of People Helping People. Feels good. Oh man, does it feel good. It feels so good to be back in the saddle, back in the seat, come to you guys and bringing you some wisdom, some love, just some fun, you know? And I think today's episode is going to be all of those things. If it's anybody's first time joining us, this is a live show. So you can leave your comments, questions, remarks, anything in the comment box there, and we'll get to it during the show. So I want to thank anybody that's just joining us for the first time, and thank anybody that has been along for the ride. And what a ride it has been. So interesting to think that we are on episode number 3 of chapter 3. We closed out chapter 2 in an incredible way with our auction, raising over $3,800 for these kids to go to camp. So this one is for you. Yeah. This has been something so special, so special. So here at People Helping People, we bring on difference makers in the community, business owners, artists, musicians, and we look behind the curtains. We get to know their reasons why, their purpose, and sometimes we just have extreme wisdom-filled shows, just people that have something to share. So it's been really exciting to be along on this journey and see how we've grown over time. And just so you guys know, we are having issues right now connecting to Facebook. So we're not live over on Facebook for the first time. We just couldn't get it dialed in. There's some technical difficulties. I don't know what's going on. I got to figure it out on the back end. But that is all good. But before we bring on our guests tonight, ladies and gentlemen, our show tonight is sponsored by Mike Silkowski, T-Town Boxing, and we have a proud new sponsor, the Diabetes Network of Arizona, and we will get to that more in depth later in the show. But tonight, as I said, we have an extremely exciting show for you guys. I don't want to leave him waiting too long. He's in the background. And, I've dubbed him the godfather of wisdom. He is no stranger to people helping people and being on podcasts and public speaking. And he always just opens my mind to new ways of thinking every time that we sit down and we have these conversations. So I'm very excited to welcome to the stage, ladies and gentlemen, drum roll please, the man, the myth, the legend, Jeffery Van De Veere.
Oh boy, you always do such an amazing job introducing me. I'm not sure I can live up to all of that, but
I love it. I mean, man, you deserve it because really, like I said, there's ways of thinking about certain things in life and you just turn them on their head. You just turn it upside down in such an incredible way and open doors that I never thought could be opened in just the thought process of things and processing things. So I thank you for that. I've really appreciated our conversations here thus far.
Well, ditto. One exonerates the other, and we just are synergistic, and you know how that goes. You get one major intelligent person like yourself who just exudes all of that energy, and it makes everybody that you're with want to step up to the plate just a little bit more, Alex.
Well, I appreciate that. And I really feel the same about you, and there's certain people, I was on the phone with our new sponsor earlier and having all these business opportunities that are coming across my plate. And I just love to have those types of conversations. Like you said, people that make you step your own game up and think about things differently, and to put myself in the shoes of where I was prior, that was in sales and business and leadership. And, it just is, it's something so special. You got to surround yourself with people that you look up to, you admire, and you are definitely one of those. But before we dive into anything else, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. See, we just go down the path.
I know we can keep going.
Yeah. But go ahead and introduce yourself to the people that don't know you.
Yeah, I am Jeffery Van De Veere, Jeff or JD, if you prefer Jeffrey David. My mom used to always call me JD when I was in trouble. JD, get in there. But yeah, Jeffrey David, and I am the proud uncle of Alexander J. Ward.
Yes, sir. Welcome to the show. Man, I feel like you definitely were going soft on the accolades there. Go ahead and hype yourself up. Let the people know what you do.
Well, what I do is a culmination of a great number of years of soul searching, business searching, wisdom searching. In college, I was did some stage presentation with J. Doug Edwards, Eden Ryle, F. Lee Bailey, Ziegler Brothers, Pat Boone, people of that caliber. And what happened was we got into motivational speaking from stage, which is a fabulous thing. However, they, like myself, began to crash after a couple of weeks after a motivational seminar. So I began to dive a little deeper into that and explore some of the deeper, greater human nature involved in what is truly motivating. And what I have come up with is a different way of thinking and presenting tools with which to continue that motivation, particularly when you are down in the dregs, in the doldrums, down in the bottom of that trough. And instead of just wallowing in self-pity and perhaps even a little bit of failure after all those magnificent weeks of success, you now have something to pull yourself up with. So I've become a coach, a hypnotherapist. I pastored a church and I was a counselor there. I've done some counseling. And of course, I spent about 35 years building houses. So I have
That's great.
a broad experience of dealing with people and the physical world.
Yeah, I mean, just such a jack of all trades. And I don't know if you heard, but I have officially dubbed you as the godfather of wisdom. So you can wear that proudly. You're not escaping
Will
it. That's
wear
you.
I want the T-shirt and the video.
We got you. You said something interesting when you were talking about these pivotal figures in public speaking doing what they do. And I want to dive a little bit deeper into that and I know that we have a topic that we're going to discuss, but you said that after having these extreme highs, these moments of euphoria and energy filled moments that's feeding off of one another. And I can only imagine being at the head of a seminar and leading that and feeling people just pulsating with energy, and you're soaking all of that up. Can you talk to me a little bit about what would you call that? The post energy crash, or what would that be called, and why do you think that is?
Well, it would probably be like so many other extreme emotions. There's actually a term for it, and I think it's exhaustion. You can get exhausted of adrenaline or with adrenaline, and when we are hyped up, there's an there's a hype exhaustion that you reach after about 2 weeks of epiphany, mind-boggling, searching, high energy. You just exhaust yourself, and you just cannot maintain that sort of high for that long without some more intrinsic tools with which to go back and pull out of your toolbox and put yourself back to work with some logic, reason, purpose, intention, and mechanical, philosophically mechanical tools, euphorically.
Yeah, that is really interesting because, I mean, I see guys like Tony Robbins who runs like 250 days a year. Dude, I
Right.
mean, I think he's an anomaly because that, just a wild man who is on a mission and lets this purpose drive him. And I guess he burns something like 12 to 20,000. I read his book called Life Source, and he burns anywhere from 12 to 20,000 calories while on stage for 12 hours in front of all of these people. So I wonder, and it didn't go into depth about what he does on the flip side of that coin to recharge, other than stem cells and a lot of out of the box type of medicinal things to heal himself. But yeah, I'm curious as far as like you coming off of the stage, and I guess it just starts with having some sort of self-awareness after the patterns strike. And you have this awareness in yourself that, okay, I've had this huge adrenaline spike, and now I'm wallowing in this gosh, what would you, I don't, it would be just lower than normal frequency than I usually do. So what are some of the practices that you utilize to get out of that?
Well, first of all, you recognize that it has a time frame. It has a limit. Every emotion has its limit, including depression, fear, anger. All of those things have a date at which they will be complete. And I have discovered that it is really pretty much up to me to decide when that date arrives. If I'm terribly depressed, let's say I want to have a good cry, all right? Not it doesn't have to be any reason. Just sometimes you just want to have a good cry. So I'll give myself about 15 minutes. I go, okay, let's just wallow in this for about 15 minutes, come out of it and get back on the horse.
Yeah.
So that's one tool. The other tool, I learned this from somebody else who said, look, what's the very absolute worst that can happen? What is the worst case scenario? And when you begin to examine that in your mind, you ask yourself the question, you begin to realize that it ain't all that bad.
Yeah.
There's, nobody's going to starve to death. Nobody's going to lose a limb. Except, obviously there are times when that does happen, but typically in life, we can manage our emotions to such a degree that we disallow those things happening. On the other hand, sometimes if we do not have the tools to get out of that, we end up with thoughts of suicide. We sabotage our lives. We begin to adopt self-defeating concepts and disempowering beliefs that take us down the wrong road. And again, we have to recognize that we're doing it, know that we have the power to control it ourselves, because our minds are extraordinarily powerful. I'll tell you a real quick story about that right now.
Sure.
Didn't plan on this, but there's a Dr. Moron who many years ago was treating this young man who had a skin disorder. He looked like thick, deep leather creases all throughout his his body. I mean, he looked like an elephant, you know. It was really, really gnarly. And it was very, very dark skin. And the young man came to him, and someone suggested that he wanted to get rid of some of the warts, some of the simple things. So Moron, who was a hypnotist, actually hypnotherapist, said, okay, I'll try hypnosis. Well, a few sessions and the warts began to diminish, along with the skin condition, which was heretofore considered impossible, absolutely impossible. There were no antidotes to it, there was no cure, and eventually it leads to an early death.
Wow.
But through the power of this young man's mind, because everybody who's hypnotized is hypnotized to use their own mind to create a different scenario for themselves. But here's what's really fascinating about it. A few months into this program, when this young man's skin began to heal, his arms first were absolutely perfectly smooth, beautiful, healthy skin. The doctor himself began to question whether or not it was his hypnosis that was doing the work. His doubt in his own work began to reverse the efficacy of his hypnosis.
Whoa.
So the power of his own mind superseded the procedures and the power of the young man's mind. And we now know that that is quantum. One thing is affected by another. We're all connected. Our vibration, as you spoke of earlier, is contagious. It is felt very deeply, and it affects all of those around us. Einstein called it spooky happenings at a distance. Science now calls it quantum. And we have now observed inanimate objects, atomic structure behaving differently when it is observed, which is pretty fascinating.
That is really
So-
fascinating.
So all that to say that the power of the mind creates virtually everything in our lives, including our moods, highs, lows, swings, beliefs,
Yeah.
empowering as well as disempowering, which kind of segues into our subject tonight.
Beautiful. Well done. I love it. Yeah, I would like to touch on what you had just said there, just real quick, if I may.
Sure.
I feel as though even when, say, you are in those depressed states, that the chips are down. Everything is working against you, whether it be coming off a high or just life is just giving you the 1-2, you know, and you're feeling it. You're taking it on the chin and your nose is bleeding and you just don't think you can take much more. I think, as you were saying, that there is something to be said about faking it until you make it in those types of scenarios. Telling yourself how good you feel that day and working on that inner dialogue until that is felt and starts to exude from you. Because like you said, everything is felt around you, whether you know it or not, whatever you're putting out into the world. And yeah, I found myself in moments, I only say that because I found myself in moments where I'm just like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this mud. You know, I am good as stuck right now, you know, and changing even how you answer, how's it going? You know, love and life. Something as simple as that. I think that those are very important tools in pulling yourself out of those situations and, you know, manifesting a happier future.
Absolutely, because the words we speak are in fact tremendously powerful. They actually they embody a vibration, and a meaning and a purpose. Is like talking to your plants. Some of you out there are going to go, oh boy, here we go. But literally, if you talk to your plant, there was a farmer who began playing symphonic music at his farm, and his plants outgrew everybody else's by 35%. And they're all going, yeah, right, right, right. Well, they didn't do that for very long, because now all of those guys are playing symphonic music because of that beautiful vibration and the harmony, literal.
Wow.
And so, and not only, Alex, are we responsible for what we put out there, and people around us feel that expression of frequency, we are subject to it as well.
Mm.
And that really leads to our subject today. I was going to actually have two subjects today, but I'm afraid we're not going to be able to get to both of them. So we'll leave the other one for later. But the heading can still remain, and that is that we are subverted by a bombardment of language.
Break that down.
Let me give you a literal, and this will break into the subject today. It wasn't too long ago that it became avant-garde to talk about and to develop boundaries, right? I mean, this is a fairly new concept. Well, there was no conversation about boundaries when I was growing up. And so when this conversation started, I'm thinking to myself, boundaries, everybody's putting up boundaries for themselves. You know, you got to have boundaries. You got to stand your ground and do your thing, and, you know, boundaries. And I thought, well, if that's what's cool, I guess I better jump on that bandwagon and acquire myself some boundaries. So as I do, I had to, first of all, define it for myself. I said, okay, what is a boundary? Well, first thing I think of is a wall, a fence, a shield, a line in the sand, metaphorically. I thought, okay, why would I build a wall or a fence or draw a line in the sand? Well, to protect myself. The question is, to protect myself from what? What am I protecting myself from? And am I, like China or Berlin, building a wall to keep myself in as well? Does it limit my perspective? Does it limit my engagement with the world? So I thought, okay, well, what are my boundaries? Where would I draw the line in the sand? And I guess the only thing that I ever actually seriously and intentionally fought for was my family and the people I love. Okay. And there's a boundary over which, if someone crosses, then it's there can be some bloodshed.
Yes, absolutely.
Short of that, most of what I hear from people on social media and so forth to talk about boundaries have to do with people hurting their feelings in some way. Crossing a boundary that says, wait a minute, I'm not going to put up with that crap. All right, you just crossed the line. Well, for those of you listening, for myself and for you, Alex, I would pose the question, is that boundary, does it have anything to do with the other person? No. It has to do with me. So what is it about me? What is my desire? What do I need from someone not doing that thing that is going to hurt my feelings or cause me to be angry or uncomfortable or distraught or to behave poorly or whatever? What is it about me? Because I have to take that responsibility myself. So I have to examine myself, not the other person. So for instance, if someone, well, I've been thin all my life. Here's just a trivial example. I've been thin all my life. And for the most part, embarrassed by it, particularly when I was younger, not so much anymore. And people would tease me. They'd make fun of me. Oh, Jeff, you stand sideways, you look like a zipper, or you disappear altogether. The wind would blow you away and stuff like that. And then when I meet people later, they say, Jeff, you look like you've lost weight. And those comments would pierce me a little bit.
Sure.
Sometimes not just a little bit, because I've worked hard all my life to gain weight. All right. I know it's a trivial thing. And for some of you go the other way and work very hard to lose weight, I get it. For me to gain weight, I have to be miserably, uncomfortably full constantly, eat stuff that's probably not healthy. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
So when somebody says to me, Jeff, you look like you've lost weight, I want to just,
Yeah. Yeah. Spark something in you.
But why is it okay for somebody to say, gee, it looks like you've lost weight, but it's not okay to say, gee, it looks like you've gained some weight?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So is that a boundary over which I should not allow someone to step?
Well, that discomfort lies within yourself. So it's not their responsibility to nurture your discomfort.
You got it. You got it. Nor is it anyone's responsibility to nurture anyone else's comfort or discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
That is the conversation we have within ourselves. So if we examine the boundaries that we set, we cannot look for the answer on the exterior. We have to look to the interior. What is it about me that requires that? Why do I have that soft spot? Why does that trigger me? What is it involved in my character, my makeup, that requires that someone else behave outside their comfort zone so that I can be comfortable with my own hang-ups?
Yeah, absolutely.
So boundaries. I thought, well, if I set boundaries, nobody can get in and I can't get out. But is that really what I want? I want to be engaged. I want to be challenged from without as well as from within. If somebody says something that triggers me, I want to look within and see how I might go about fixing or changing or accepting whatever that is. Has nothing at all to do with the other person. Yeah. And most of these conversations I hear about boundaries end up in some sort of an angry mode. It's a state of frustration and anger. And we know that anger is a product of frustration, and frustration is the product of having immediate circumstances out of your control. So when I get angry, I have to go within and say, Jeff, not only do you have to get control of your emotion, you have to look around at the circumstances to see what's out of control that's frustrating you. Can I fix it? Can I manage it? Who do I have right here near me that can help me fix the situation, address the problem? And once again, hearkening back to emotions that we're not particularly fond of, I put in my mind, this too will pass.
Yeah.
I say that a lot. This too will pass. How do I know that? Because I'm 74 years old and I've had a lot of crap that I thought was permanent. And guess what? It all passes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It all passes.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so interesting that you bring that up, and thank you for sharing that. As you're talking about that, I'm thinking of, all these moments in life where it struck a nerve. Whatever it was that was said struck a nerve. And that is based on my experiences of the things that I've endured or gone through that, made me feel some type of way. And it never really alleviated. So I've always said that the being angry was for the weak, because I always felt as though anger was because you didn't know how to show the emotion in which you're feeling at that time. And so it boils down to anger. Now, I say that with an asterisk. There's a caveat to that, because I feel like anger can be used in great ways when needed. There is something to be said about needing that adrenaline rush of anger to get through whatever the situation is in front of you. I understand that, but I seldomly feel anger. And I think that's because of, well, gosh, I wonder why that is. I could try to explain
There
that.
you go. See, now you've got it. Now you do the exploration.
Mm,
Now there you go. There's where life begins, right there. How can I be even more calm, collected, together, in control, even when I am out of control?
mm, yeah,
And you're right. Anger is a very childish emotion,
yeah,
very childish.
yeah,
It just is a display of your own inability to manage a set of circumstances. And
yes,
sometimes it's fear that causes anger. And fear, again, is a product of not being able to manage the immediate circumstances.
yeah. Yeah,
So,
Kayla and I, sorry to cut you off. Kayla and I were just talking about fear the other day, because she goes, she's not ticklish, and
oh,
she says it's because you're scared. And I was like, hold on a minute, pump the brakes. But it's so interesting because the anticipation of being tickled, it's the fear of that allows you to be ticklish, right? And
yeah,
it just, I
yeah,
don't, it's just an interesting moment, because again, I think you're 100% correct on fear being, or I'm sorry, anger being fear based. And I do feel as though there are situations in life where you do need to utilize anger to get through those situations, whether they're physical altercations or you need that adrenaline rush. I mean, you see some out of shape middle-aged dad lifting a car off of somebody, and those like that fear, that anger, that need to perform, I
right.
think is important. But I also see people, especially, gosh, I don't, I forget I'm in my mid 30s, but I see people my age, older, younger, of all ages, right? Having anger outbursts like a 2-year-old child.
Mm,
And I can't do anything but turn a cheek, turn a blind eye, and just kind of shake my head and wish that they had the capabilities of being able to, just rationalize whatever's happening in their brain properly. And I feel like there's such a big disconnect, because men need anger, and that's the way to handle whatever emotional situation is in front of them. Put your hand through a wall, or angry outbursts and yell at the top of your lungs. And I've always been very turned off by that in human beings when I see anger.
yes, absolutely. There again, that's one of those bill of goods that we have been sold to subvert our true growth. Men, oh, boys don't cry. Men have to be ballsy and tough and angry and
I still struggle with that. I still
oh,
struggle with that.
okay, yeah, yeah. Well, you see, I'm in Newport Beach right now for a little while, and you see a lot of blustering, a lot of puffing up,
Yeah.
and you see guys walking on the street, arms akimbo, as if their lats are so big they can't get their arms down. I'm going, okay,
Yeah.
their arms down. You look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Um, and they don't smile when you walk by, like, well, I'm too tough, don't mess with me.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, really,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
You know what? If you step out in the street and that car's about to hit you, I'm going to grab you and pull you back onto the curb anyway.
Yeah.
In spite of you being such a jerk,
Yeah.
but because I love you, I can see right through it to that heart
Yeah.
of tender. And again, that's part of those boundaries that we put up that are really to protect us. We don't want to be vulnerable, but the vulnerability is really where the humanity lies. To be vulnerable, to shed those blocks. I don't call it a boundary for myself. I call it a block. Why would I block out other people being engaged with me and finding out who I am and who they are and having a deep conversation about that? And if it tweaks me a little bit, good. Oh, I have something else to examine in myself. Thank you for that. Why would I want to block that? Why would I want to put up a shield against that? Why would I fence that off? I don't like the idea of boundaries for myself. Now, this might not be true of you or anybody else listening, but for me, boundaries set a limitation for communication, emotion, honesty, true humanity. Come on in, man. I have not had a front door key to any one of my places where I've lived for, I don't know, 35, 40 years or something. I don't know. You want to come in? Come in. Just help yourself to the refrigerator. Let's have a conversation. Grab a beer. Get one for me while you're at it.
Yeah.
But again, that's just me. And I'm starting to get in the dark here, aren't I? Anyway, I just don't want boundaries. And so when all this stuff about, well, we gotta have boundaries, because people will hurt you or whatever, you don't want to get taken advantage of, and well, I don't know. Bring on the hurt, because
go ahead.
there is no phrase in the Mexican language for "you hurt my feelings," because they take responsibility for their feelings.
Wow. So it's a cultural thing.
Yeah, and it's very much expressed when you're down in Mexico and something goes wrong, you need some help or whatever. Man, they're right there. They're a total stranger. They don't care. You're a human being, and they're gonna help you out.
Yeah.
Because they don't have boundaries. They don't have that block. They're not afraid to engage because they know that there's nothing to lose. There is only that which to gain with an interaction, the interaction of another human being.
I love that. Well, if you'd like, I don't know if you have a light there, but I can go ahead and do my ad reads real quick for our sponsors.
Yeah, let me grab a light.
Great. Okay, I'll put you off into the corner. We'll bring you back in just a second.
You got it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Jeffery Van De Veere. So much fun talking with him. But we have some people supporting the show, and I am a proud representative of these people. So let's go ahead and get into it. Tonight's show is sponsored by Mike Sokowski. He's your local partner in getting your message in front of the right people. Mike specializes in helping businesses right here in Southern Arizona reach their ideal customers through TV and streaming services. He's not just sponsoring this chapter 3 of People Helping People. He's building partnerships and he doesn't succeed unless you do. So if you're ready to grow your business with someone who's invested in your success, call Mike directly at 515-305-5311. Again, that's 515-305-5311. And I just have to advocate for anybody that may be a business owner in the Southern Arizona region. Reach out to Mike. Just call him. Just call him. He will direct you in the right direction. He will help you niche down and come up with a marketing plan for you. He really is incredible. So just give him a call. And if he can't help you, he's going to direct you towards somebody that can. So thank you, Mike. We love you. This episode is also sponsored by T-Town Boxing. It's Tucson's home for boxing, kickboxing, and recovery classes for all ages. T-Town Boxing isn't just a gym, it's a community where you build confidence, discipline, and lifelong skills. Whether you're stepping into the ring for the first time or sharpening your technique, from kids to adults, beginners to experienced fighters, T-Town Boxing offers a space to grow, train, and challenge yourself. So if you're ready to push your limits and join an amazing community, reach out to T-Town Boxing on Instagram at instagram.com/T-Town Boxing or their website, boxingtucson.com. Again, that's instagram.com/T-Town Boxing or their website, boxingtucson.com. And Jake Wilson, the owner of T-Town Boxing, is an incredible guy. He started T-Town Boxing because boxing has saved his life over and over and over again. And so he wanted to give that same thing, that same crutch to all these other people and help them find some passion and help them get through life by opening a gym. So we love you, Jake. Thank you for sponsoring the show. This episode of People Helping People Live is proudly sponsored by the Diabetes Network of Arizona, a community built by people living with type 1 diabetes for people living with type 1 diabetes. They're home to Arizona's only family camp for type 1 diabetes, giving kids and families a place to connect, learn, and feel understood. Every dollar raised stays right here in Arizona, helping our neighbors and loved ones. Last year, they provided scholarships for families to attend camp, delivered thousands of life-saving diabetic supplies, and launched programs that protect foster youth and support schools across the state. Because no family should ever face diabetes alone, and with your help, they don't have to. You can make a difference today. The donation link is below in the description. That's the Diabetes Network of Arizona, building a stronger, healthier Arizona together. So proud to be representing those guys over there. They caught wind of us raising as much as we did for Camp ASDA, jumped into one of these shows, and the CEO of the company reached out, and I am just so excited to be a part of what they have going on. So the beautiful thing is I'm here to give you guys outlets. I'm here to give you outlets in different ways that you can help, whatever calls to you. That's what People Helping People is all about. We're here to build out a beautiful network of individuals to move forward as a community and to really make a difference in our community. So thank you to our sponsors, and let's get back to the show. Yeehaw, there he is. Wow, well lit.
Yeah.
Looking good. All right, brother. Where were we?
Well, we were talking about boundaries, but I want to say to you, I so much appreciate the quality of people who are attracted to people helping people, and it's a reflection on you, Alex. The people who sponsor your program are high caliber.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I really do appreciate that. And I am definitely picky with who we allow to sponsor the show. I've been reached out by multiple supplement companies of just random things. And I'm like, I don't know if I believe in that, so it feels good to be able to not only bring my audience guests like yourself with a lot of wisdom and knowledge to pass down, but also feed them the knowledge and wisdom and tools that they may need if they want to start a business, whether it be art or music or a brick and mortar. But to have this network build out the way that it is just super special. So thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Well, you've just touched on something that is near and dear to my heart. And as long as we're talking about boundaries, we can talk about the boundaries that sometimes a boss or a business owner will set up.
Yes, please.
My most successful business was Hamilton Shields. And one of the boundaries there, if you will, was that there was a rule of no gossip. And it was a one strike ball game rule. I hear you, hear of you, get wind of you saying something negative about anybody in the business, anybody certainly in the office, whatever, you're done. And we became number one in the nation within less than a year. And I think a lot of it had to do with that, because the synergism was absolutely extraordinary. Because if somebody was talking about you, it had to be uplifting. You didn't walk out of the lunchroom and, do this to hear what they were talking about. No, you walked out with confidence. And when something went wrong in the store, nobody was pointing fingers. Oh, whose fault is this? No. Okay, how do we fix this? Let's get our heads together and make this thing work and get this thing fixed.
I love
and
that.
Build over into our home life, our personal lives. And one of the boundaries that bosses and business owners draw for themselves is this feeling of respect. They demand respect. Well, you don't get real, true respect because you demand it. You get it because you've earned it.
Preach.
So if there is a boundary to put up, it is the boundary within yourself. If you want to be respected, you have to be respectable. If you want to make more money, become more valuable.
It's simple math.
It's not a difficult scenario.
Yeah.
So if now some people are just jerks, they're going to disrespect anything and everybody, and there's only so much of that you can put up with. And again, if you're a boss, I know it's difficult to do once the business has started. But you could do something like, a $5 bill for everybody that, for every piece of gossip that is overheard.
Yeah.
Something like that. I'll tell you what, it is powerful. It is amazingly powerful because, again, every word that is spoken behind closed doors and within the office has to be uplifting and positive and of high vibration. It has to be progressive. It has to have purpose. It has to push the ball further down the road and further down the field. It cannot be negative.
I love that. And I wish that there were more bosses in the world that could hear this right now, because and for people that may be stepping into a management role, their first time having the power of management. And I think that can be a tough pill to swallow. I know for myself personally, when I first stepped into a management role, is like, okay, how do I balance friendships that I've already acquired at that place with becoming a manager where there's disciplinary action for certain things? And when you have a boss above you that is expecting you to find the faults in that person in order to get them fired, I learned over time that having those, breaking through the boundaries of those uncomfortable conversations, and say, listen, this is what I'm put up to right now. This is what is expected of me. And because that is expected of me, this is what I have to have you do because I don't want to lose you. You know, we're in this together. Like let's move forward as a team here. But I remember that transitional period. It probably took me 3 or 4 months to really grab the reins on what being a manager of other individuals. And I was in my mid 20s. So to have people that were double, triple my age, and here I am from being the, you know, the head of sales to now I'm your boss. And that transition was not easy.
You're right. It can be a very difficult transition. And here's a little tool. I'll quote the pentameter of the Beatles. Here's another tool for you all. Crisis management. When a situation like that presents itself and you're speaking to the person that needs the discipline, frequently what I have done in the past that works is I say, do you know why you're here? Usually they do. So can you explain precisely what it was that you did and tell me why? What was going on in your head? What was going on in your heart? Okay. Do you feel like you could do a better job at that in the future? Yeah. Do you see where you went wrong and how you can fix it? And how can you be even more responsible and more effective? And now that we've established that, if you and I trade places, what sort of disciplinary action would you have me come under the guise of? What would you do if the roles were reversed? What discipline would you deal out on me?
I love that. You're having them come up with the answers, giving them a lot of questions that end with this. And they're building out the solution in which they came up with, you know?
Yeah. And they'll always suggest something, and virtually always I would say, well, I get it, and I appreciate that. I think that's probably a little too harsh.
Yeah.
But I tell you what we can do. How about this? You know, we'll put you on probation. Don't do it again, you know, blah, 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 whatever. Or, you know, if it was a sales thing and they stole a sale from somebody or whatever, I say, look, we can't make that up now. I can't pull your commission and give it to the other guy. But we can make it up with exposure. We give the next guy the deal. Is that fair?
Right.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So something to that effect. And when they have chosen their own punishment, takes it off your plate. I did that with my kids. I said, now, Keith, what, that was not particularly savory behavior. He was 7 years old. He said, yeah, I know, Dad. I said, well, you know that it probably deserves some punishment, right? He says, yeah, it really does. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll let you choose the punishment.
Wow. Yeah.
And usually it was harsher than I would dole out myself. One time he said, well, I probably need a spanking. I said, ooh, yeah, well, all right, we'll do a spanking. I said, all right, I'm going to give you another choice. Switch, a brush, or a belt. And he chose one of them. And of course, I gave him a fairly light spanking. You know, I'm not going to hurt the kid.
Yeah.
He chose it. And the moment I finished, he bolted up out of my lap and gave me the biggest bear hug. He was so delighted that someone cared enough to discipline him, and he could see that it was killing me to do it.
Yeah.
And he felt like he was valued.
Mm. I love that.
And he put his arms around me, and we wept together, and it was an amazing thing. So there again, we come back to fear, anger, boundaries, all of that. If we knock the boundaries down, if we destroy the boundaries and let people in and let yourself in, you don't have to have boundaries.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, leads us into the second part of this, which we'll have to do next session.
Yeah, I would love that. And I would like to leave on the note of positive boundaries to set for yourself, because I feel like there's a total flip side to that coin. And to break down those negative boundaries that they're holding you back in so many different ways, and they allow you to believe that being offended by certain things they're merited. And for you, maybe they are, but to ask those questions internally, why those boundaries are set and how you can break those boundaries down, I think is a very important topic to touch on. But for people listening, what boundaries on the positive side have you set in place, or would you advocate for others to set in place for their lives?
Are you asking for other people to respond to that, or are you asking me?
As for you, Uncle Jeff, the godfather of wisdom.
Well, like I alluded to earlier, my boundaries are these. How can I be even more open?
Mm.
What are the boundaries to my insulation that I can break down? What are the boundaries that I have set for myself that I can dissolve?
Yeah.
So that I can let myself out and let others in? How can I be even more empathetic and understanding? How can I be even more in control of my emotions in a situation so that I do not get angry?
Mm.
How can I look more deeply through that bad behavior of the other person that should cause me to be uncomfortable? How can I look more deeply through that into that heart that needs to be loved, understood, and appreciated? And how can I even better satisfy that in them? All of a sudden, all the shields are down. The fences are gone. The boundaries, the wall, there are no walls. We now embrace, how can I beat down my own walls of boundary?
Mm.
How can I diminish that to a place where they no longer exist? That's my boundary.
I love that.
Not to put up boundaries.
Come on. Ladies and gentlemen, the godfather of wisdom, Jeffery Van De Veere. So good. Thank you for sharing that. That was a beautiful sentiment about boundaries. And I just appreciate you coming on the show and sharing that with us. We just flew through an hour just like that. It's so quick. And I can't wait to have you back to touch on topic number 2, because I think that was a really intriguing, very interesting topic. And I'll be looking forward to the self-reflection on that portion as well.
Shall we tease them with it?
Yeah, let's talk about what number 2 of the 2 topics we were going to discuss today.
We have been sold a bill of goods. We've been lied to about what it takes to have a healthy, productive love relationship with a spouse or girlfriend, boyfriend.
Mm.
And let me just pose this to you. I'll ask the question, and you guys can think about this until next time. What are the 2 words that pretty much come up the bulk of the time when we're talking about what we need to have, what we need to do to create a good, healthy relationship? What can you think of?
Love, respect, and commitment.
Okay. And what are the yes? And what are the two words that would be like a behavior? Let me just give them to you and see if you agree.
Yeah, go ahead.
The respect, yes, certainly. Um, most of the time, we hear sacrifice,
Mm.
right, and compromise. We have to know how to sacrifice our own selfish desires and make some compromises to allow them to, be more comfortable.
Interesting.
And let's add respect to that. Okay. And we'll call that a boundary as well. But is it a requirement from them, or
Mm.
is it a requirement of you?
Interesting. Yeah, what a cliffhanger. I want to dive in. I want to dive in.
Uh, these
Well
are
done. Well done. Well, another incredible conversation with the man, the myth, the legend, Jeffrey Van De Veere. Um, Go ahead and let the people know where they can reach you. And yeah, let's start there.
always a huge pleasure, buddy. Yeah, you are welcome to call me. I'm going to give you my personal cell phone number. It's 714-655-7365. You can catch me at Jeff Van De Veere at yahoo.com, and that's JeffVanDeveere at Yahoo. Having a little trouble with my emails right now, or text me or whatever. But I am more than willing, delighted to chat with you. And if you need some hypnotherapy, I'm here for you. By the way, Alex, I just moved. Well, I'm about to move my rig to Yuma. I know it's still 2.5 hours from you, but
You better swing by. Door
I
is open. Come hang out.
ditto.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Yeah, gosh, that would be great. But let me know, is there anything else that you would like to leave with the people before you go?
Well, I think I'm going to just reiterate this. When you think of boundaries, don't look outside, look inside. Why do I need that boundary? What is it about me that is so delicate, sensitive, needy that I have to set up that boundary?
Great question.
And what can I do to diminish it
Yeah. Yeah.
and settle that within myself to solve it personally?
Ladies and gentlemen, the Godfather of wisdom, thank you so much. We love you and look forward to the next episode. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace out. Love you.
Love you too. Wow. Come on. Another one. Another one. He never disappoints. I mean, just so stinking entertaining, so stinking smart, so much wisdom. The Godfather of wisdom. He's not only earned the name, but living up to it, It's a beautiful thing. I want to thank everybody for joining us on this episode tonight. Again, we had issues with Facebook, so we're not live over there, but we are live on only 3 platforms right now. Typically, we're live on 5. So we got to figure that out in the background. It's totally fine. Things happen, technical difficulties. Sometimes the websites have issues, sometimes blah, 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 all background stuff. But I want to acknowledge a few people that are here. Jeffy, we see you. Thank you for joining us. We were so deep in conversation, I didn't get to any of the comments here. But yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. Rich, another legend in the house. We see you. Salute, brother. He says, hello all. Sorry, forgot you changed the time. Yes, we are Monday, Wednesday, Friday now at 6 p.m. versus our 8 p.m. time frame before. So we have changed our timing. And I hope that that works for everybody. You know, I'm finding that once you do switch time, it takes a little while for people to realize that the timing has switched. So we'll just continue to boogie until everybody's back on board. Let's see. Rich says, oh man, I remember having to go to the Weeping Willow Tree for a switch. Oh, ouch. Yeah. I only got smacked a couple times, but I learned. I'll tell you that. I learned how not to get caught again. That's the gist of that. And I'm sorry, Rich, I missed your question here. He says, wouldn't that fall partially under communication? Sorry, we missed that in the moment there. But I want to thank everybody for joining us for this incredible episode of People Helping People. As you know, we are on Chapter 3. This is Episode 3, and Chapter 3 is called Helping Hands. So we will be going out to nonprofits here in the Tucson area, showing you guys the inner workings and what it means to volunteer there. So if you guys want to get involved in any of these things, we give you the blueprint. And if you see something that calls to you, whether we're feeding people meals or I'm not too sure about all these nonprofits that are here, but I'm really excited to dive in because I feel like we have a lot of people that are watching. This is going to be a bunch of people. So we have a lot of people watching People Helping People that are looking for avenues in which that they can help. So we're going to bring light to those things so you guys can make the decision of what best fits your way to give back. And, you know, there's just so many exciting things happening in the background. I want to thank our sponsors again. We have T-Town Boxing. We have Mike Sokowski. We have the Diabetes Network of Arizona. And if any of these things call to you and maybe you can't physically be at these places, you can donate to the Diabetes Network of Arizona, who puts on Camp Asda and a bunch of other, there's a whole network that's in the name. There's a whole network of ways to support people with type 1 diabetes. So we will have more on that in the future and ways that you guys can get involved. But for the time being, in the description, if you guys want to donate, if that's something that calls to you, again, we're not asking anybody to, but the option is there. So again, thank you all for being a part of People Helping People, this family, this community, and we're going to continue to grow and build and make even bigger differences in the world. We'll catch you on the next one. We'll see y'all Wednesday. Deuces.
Yeah. What's everybody fighting for? Why can't people help people? That's the question.